China has consistently proved its scientific and technological prowess in recent years. Whether it is the growth of the aerospace industry or the prowess of other scientific fields, China's performance has always shocked the rest of the globe. However, because of China's rapid progress, the United States has become concerned. In the sphere of aerospace, China's Tiangong space station has entered the final construction phase and is projected to be completed by early 2023. However, the United States has questioned China's space station and pushed the media to report that it does not comply with international norms. The United States thinks that China has excluded other nations and prohibits the use of Chinese on the space station. So what transpired exactly? Approximately 360 kilometers from the planet's surface, there are two space stations. One is the United States-led International Space Station, and the other is China's Tiangong space station. It is believed that the current International Space Station is a collaborative effort between the United States, Russia, Japan, Germany, and other nations. In addition to employees from the United States, Russia, Japan, Canada, and other nations, the International Space Station is staffed by astronauts. You may wonder why Chinese people are never seen aboard the International Space Station. All of this stems from the United States' hegemony. Currently, there are claims that China submitted an application to join the International Space Station at its inception. The United States denied China's application to join the International Space Station. During this time, the United States also implemented a thorough embargo of China's space technology, preventing other nations from sharing space technology with China. This is exceptionally awful news for China. Consequently, the International Space Station cooperation has nothing to do with China. After being denied, China can only focus on aircraft industry research and development. Due to the United States' refusal to join the International Space Station, China grasped the importance of space technology and decided to conduct its own study. According to documents, the Chinese government devised the development strategy for the Chinese space station in 1992. China will successfully execute the first manned space station expedition in 2021. The Chinese space station is likewise in the building phase for its maiden launch in May 2022. In June of the same year, the first manned launch mission was successfully accomplished. The Tiangong space station exemplifies China's accelerating advancement in the aerospace industry. In addition, it has demonstrated to the world China's independent research and development capability, which will be a major turning point for China's aerospace industry. But at this time, the United States became concerned and even envious of China's aeronautical growth. According to the existing state of affairs, all nations have understood that the deterioration of the United States controlled International Space Station cannot be stopped. Numerous cracks have been documented on the International Space Station, which may pose a threat to human life. In addition, there was a gas leaking issue on the International Space Station in August 2020, one which posed a threat to human life. There were thereafter exceptions when docking with the Russian module cabin. Currently, the International Space Station is caught between the international relations and budgetary issues of numerous nations. In 2 years, it will most likely retire from the historical scene. Russia has announced that it will withdraw from the International Space Station in light of the numerous issues plaguing the station. This further shows that the International Space Station will be removed from public view in 2024. China will be the only country with a space station for the foreseeable future. Therefore, China's space station will be the sole entity in the universe for an extended period of time. Under these conditions, the United States is much more concerned. The United States is among the 17 countries that have begun to apply to join China's space station for scientific study. Nevertheless, given the current state of ties between China and the United States, China must ponder if the United States will spy on its development plans after accessing its space station. In addition, the United States continues to apply with a hegemonic mindset. The United States argues that China's space station must adhere to U.S. criteria in order to be utilized. Faced with such a hegemonic worldview, China is obviously incapable of compromise. The Chinese-developed space station is not an international product. It is fully Chinese territory and a symbol of China's power. At the moment, the International Space Station is caught in the crossfire between the international relations and budgetary concerns of a number of different states. It is highly conceivable that it will disappear from the historical landscape within the next 2 years. In view of the many problems that have been afflicting the International Space Station, Russia has stated that it will withdraw from its participation in the project. This is further evidence that the so-called International Space Station will be hidden from view by the general public in the year 2024. For the foreseeable future, China is the only nation that will have a space station in its territory. As a result, China's so-called space station will, for a considerable amount of time, be the only living thing anywhere in the universe. The United States of America is significantly more concerned given the current circumstances. The United States of America is one of the 17 countries that have started the application process to conduct scientific research aboard China's space station. In spite of this, China needs to consider whether or not the United States will spy on its development plans after gaining access to its space station. This is especially important considering the current condition of relations between China and the United States. In addition, the United States has not abandoned its hegemonic approach to the application process. The United States of America maintains that China's space station cannot be utilized until it fulfills the requirements set forth by the United States. It is very clear that China is incapable of reaching a compromise when confronted with such a hegemonic mindset. The space station produced by the Chinese is not a product of the worldwide market. It is completely governed by China and serves as a symbol of the country's growing influence. According to the results of the vote, China has so far received applications from 27 different countries. Following receipt of the applications, China conducted a thorough review of those from these countries. At this time, China has given permission to 18 different nations to station its astronauts on the Tiangong space station. Russia, France, Japan, India, and Germany are just some of the countries that are included in this group. On the other hand, as soon as China received the application from the United States, they promptly rejected it. The United States of America then engaged in public slander against China by asserting that China's space station does not meet the criteria for the name, and that China has always prevented other countries from participating. What precisely happened is the question. After China's space station proposal was turned down, the United States started making public statements denouncing China for using Chinese slogans on their space station. The United States of America does not recognize the qualifications of China's usage of Chinese aboard the International Space Station. In addition to this, the Knowledge Question and Answer website of the United States features a significant number of inquiries regarding the utilization of Chinese in the Chinese space station. The United States of America views China's tendency to cut itself off from the rest of the world by isolating itself through its practice of excluding other countries. The United States, on the other hand, seems to have forgotten that China's space station is wholly owned by China and that China is responsible for configuring all of the station's internal settings. Learning Chinese is a prerequisite for participation for any other countries who wish to take part. How does China then respond to the false rumors that have been spread by the United States? After this event, the primary designer of China's manned space program declared that China has never turned down any other nation as a candidate for its space program, even if only science and related technologies are included for the evaluation. It is abundantly evident that the United States is not up to the criteria set by China. This conclusion is based on the current situation in the United States as well. The United States might potentially be denied access to the Chinese space station if China chooses to take this course of action. At this time, astronauts from a wide range of countries are actively participating in Chinese language classes and training alongside their Chinese counterpart. Even the astronauts of the European Space Agency quickly caught up with China and started learning the relevant Chinese language and way of life at a time when the International Space Station is about to be relegated to the annals of history. This occurred at a time when the International Space Station is about to be relegated to the annals of history. We are all well aware that learning Chinese is among the most difficult languages everywhere in the world to do so. However, China did not budge from its position this time, and it continues to hold the expectation that any foreign astronauts who are stationed in China's so-called space station will use Chinese as their primary medium of communication. Learning Chinese is a requirement not only for astronauts from the United States, but also from other countries. In point of fact, the space station operated by China displays all of its operational pages in Chinese. In the event that they are unable to speak Chinese, finding work in the future will be quite challenging for them.